We'll welcome in our very special guests for this week, the Director of Operations for the World Fitness Project, Jackson Terry, and the Director of Sport for the same organization, the Fittest Man in the 35 to 39 division, Will Moorad. Will, Jackson, thanks so much for joining us today. How are you guys doing?
No, we're doing good. We're just super excited to be able to come on here and chat with you guys. I know I'm excited. I know Will is too, and we're just happy to be able to share a little bit more about what we're doing and what the WFP is.
100%, 100%. And I mean, you guys have kind of been a lot of the talk of the town as details start to roll out. I know Lauren has yet to meet you, Jackson, but I've had the pleasure of meeting you both and spending time with you, quality time with you both, even out in Hawaii, where I know you're coming from right now, Jackson.
Yeah.
So let's start way back at the beginning now, because even as details are rolling out, how did ultimately this idea get started? Where was the seed planted? And what was kind of the impetus to start putting things together for the WFP?
Yeah, you can roll with it.
Yeah. So, man, probably 18 months ago, I'd say. So I was out visiting Jackson and his family in Kauai about 18 months ago. And I took a job with the nonprofit that Jackson and his wife ran, which develops free fitness and education and support for underprivileged communities for youth. I was going to take a job there. We were going to build an HQ for Good Life in Nashville. That would be a performance facility. We do a lot of the charity work there, and it would help subsidize the efforts for the gyms that they've built, and they've built all around the world. And we were going to have a big competition out of that gym once a year, kind of like a NIT to the NCAA. Everybody that didn't make the games, the next 5 to 10 athletes, we just bring them in and we'd run a competition there, because a lot of those athletes' seasons end, right after semis, teams as well. And that kind of evolved over the past 18 months into what is now the World Fitness Project, which is an international fitness tour that features, the best athletes in the world, community divisions, across 3 events year one. So it started as a gym and one competition and evolved into this tour, which we're super excited about.
And I'll follow up with that, because I think that's important to understand the roots of this. Can you explain a little bit of what Good Life is and kind of what you, even Jackson, your involvement in kind of founding that, and what your involvement in the community has been, because it seems like that was the foundation for it. But some people may be unfamiliar with that.
Yeah, for sure. So Good Life, my wife Isabella and I started Good Life in April of 2023 is when we first launched what Good Life was. So a little over almost 2 years ago, coming up in April. So, and what Good Life is we're really passionate about youth, Isabella and I, and passionate about giving youth better opportunities. And we're very passionate about fitness, obviously. And so we combine fitness and our faith, and we just really put that hand in hand together. And so we started a gym in Decatur, Alabama, where we're from. That was our first Good Life gym. We provide free fitness to youth, adults. We have classes that run throughout the week. So it's super cool. Just our way of giving back to kids and giving them opportunities to do something fun and better their life. And then we also have a gym going up in Costa Rica. And then we have partnered with a foundation, Point One Foundation, to run our program out of a gym in Uganda as well. So,
wow.
Yeah, we're super blessed just to be able to help and give back in that way. And that's what started the whole project. It's just our mission to serve and give back, and want to really help and be with the community, and just really be with the people at the foundation of the fitness space and give back to them and show that we care. And I know Will is a big part of that too, because we were hand in hand working in Good Life when he came out and trying to build the gym in Nashville. And it's really the core of what the WFP is. It's led into the People Matter More statement. The founders behind this project, the funders behind it, they ran many successful businesses on the platform of People Matter More, because they always put their people first, whether it's their employees, their workers, their community, whoever it is. They're not afraid to roll up their sleeves and be with them. And that's what they wanted us to build this platform on as well. And being able not just yes, we're the directors of this operation, but also being able to give back and be in the community just as much as anyone else is.
At what point did this then transition into something more, into something that wasn't just going to be this inside an affiliate competition, and now it is this very developed season?
Yeah, you want me to take
Yeah.
that? Yeah. So probably 7 months ago, I'd
Okay.
say. Um, the the idea of just reallocating the funds that would have gone to like building a facility and trying to pour it back into the athletes and the community was kind of what was the genesis of that.
Mhm.
Me stepping away from the competition side of things, having a pretty good pulse on what a tour could look like in the space, and then talking to the group and being like, "What do you guys think about this?" It could have a pretty cool impact on the space and just create an additional option for athletes like myself that are doing this for a living, to help provide some type of support financially. I think also kind of excite the community about more opportunities to watch the best athletes in the world compete, more than one time throughout the year and have community divisions as well at these events, right? Which is a big part of those events.
Mhm.
Mm.
And kind of following up on what Lauren said, because it's funny you mentioned that. When we were in Kauai, not this past summer, but the summer before, I think you were putting me through like just this gnarly bike battery test
Yeah.
workout that at Jackson and Bella's gym, and just getting worked. And I could see the wheels were kind of spinning. You were talking to me about like, hey, maybe what's next? What are some ideas of getting involved and continuing like work here, but maybe not as an athlete? And even with that in mind, it takes a lot to finally break ground. I liken it to maybe like building a house, right? You can put all the planning and everything like that, but once you actually break ground, that's when stuff starts getting moved.
Yeah.
What has been that point for you guys? What was the point of like, all right, this is actually breaking ground? Whether you have financial backing, brand partners, athletes signing on, where is that kind of that I guess kind of like a genesis point, but even more so like rubbers to the road.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it has been an evolving thing. Like we committed 18 months ago, right?
Yeah.
To doing this with Good Life. Now, I think the idea of rebranding it into which Good Life still exists,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
Refocusing our efforts into the World Fitness Project came kind of naturally. It just almost was it separated from Good Life, right? The tour is a much different thing than a gym with an in-person or with a in-gym competition. It's a much different
Mhm.
thing. So I think we just kind of came together, I guess, what did I say, 6, 7 months ago, and
Yeah.
said, okay, let's like build out the business plan for the whole season as opposed to a gym, a sports performance facility, and all of that. The logistics of a competition were kind of already there. And what we envisioned that growing into, maybe 2 events in that gym throughout the year. But we just kind of spun that into a bigger project, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun I mean, we have a pretty big group that's working on this, and it's been a lot of fun to just help or to be a part of that.
Mhm.
I think that answered your question.
Yeah, no.
So then who's part of the group? I mean, anything from the involvement of the athletes. I know you guys are slowly but surely releasing some of the athletes that you signed. Does the PFAA have involvement? Who are the people behind the scenes, and what is really the makeup of those people?
Yeah, I can speak on some of it, then we'll chime in too. But so, I mean, our team is composed of people from a lot of different aspects and avenues in their business, from myself and Isabella and our nonprofit side, from Will from the sports side, Ryan Husband and Maggie Husband. I think you guys may know them a little bit. Ryan runs
Mhm. Yep.
LRX Apparel, and
Yep.
they are on our team as well, just on our business development team, helping us really grow and develop sponsorships and other partners and stuff like that. As well as our investors that come from multiple different like business backgrounds. We have a lot of different diverse and various experience on our team that really blends well together. We also have our event director. So Jason Ansley is going to be running our North American events. part of the
Nice.
I
yeah.
love Jason. He's great.
Yeah, he's super
Heck
awesome.
yeah.
We love Jason. And then Roger Nelson. I'm not sure if you guys know him. Part of the
Ro-
Wadla group.
is
Oslo
he from
Throwdown.
Norway?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's
I've
from
been out
Sweden,
to
but
yeah, I've been out to when he ran the Norwegian CrossFit Throwdown as a sanctional back in the
right.
day. So
Mhm.
yep. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
so he
Roger.
and his team are going to be running our event in Europe this year. So super
Great.
excited. Yeah, super excited. We have a really great team that meshes well. We really work well together, and super excited about that. And then, Will, if you want to speak about the PFAA.
Yeah, so we've been in contact with the PFAA. We're still sorting out what exactly that relationship looks like, but we've spoke about movement standards, safety procedures, set up for the events as far as the floor goes, that type of stuff, and potentially having them checklist that off. So that's kind of where that's been. I spoke with Brent and their team a lot about what that type of relationship could look like moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. And you touched on something with Roger, obviously, and Jason about the structure, maybe a little bit of from a season standpoint, right? Like having event partners in other areas of the world kind of working at. Is that kind of the roadmap as far as competition is concerned? Because I think people look at this, and obviously World Fitness Project has world in your name. It can't
Right.
just be the North American Fitness Project. It
Yeah.
can't
No,
just be, the United States Fitness Project. So is that part of the scaling plan, is to lean on event partners that will run stuff that are already involved in the space? Or will there be completely new standalone type events? Where do you guys fall on that spectrum?
yeah, completely standalone events. We were just leaning on these event directors who have great reputations, run big events that are
Mhm.
to the scale that we would prefer ours to be. We did a lot of research on who these people were and interviewed them. And obviously, I spent time in Europe with the team and vetted them, and they're great. They have a proven track record. So yeah, 2 tour events and a final under the WFP banner. And then the plan would be to expand an additional event in Europe or Australia or South America in 2026 and really turn it into a global sport. This year we'll be in Europe and the States, which is definitely exciting. But if we could get it to 4 or 5 tour events and a final over the next few years, that'd be incredible. That'd be, in my opinion, a real tour, right? Where athletes can travel around, they can earn points at different events to work towards a world championship, uh, which you see a lot in other sports. So
Yeah,
that's kind of the expansion plan.
yeah, totally.
Who came up and developed the point system for how this season is going to work, and how many drafts of that did you have to have before you finally agreed that this was the way to move forward?
The points like per event,
Yes.
or well, the points per event are fixed, but the points that you win at each event that are accrued across the
Yeah, yeah.
season are different.
Right.
Yeah, we worked on it a ton.
You should see my Google spreadsheets. They're
Yeah,
just filled.
yeah,
Mhm.
Please
and
share it with us.
And
yeah,
Lauren's a
yeah.
sucker for spreadsheets. That's
Yeah.
yep.
It's like mock leaderboard after mock leaderboard, just random. And we're
Mhm.
still we're still going to stress test this a couple more times to make sure that we have the most perfect, like not the most perfect, to make sure we have the best point system that we can put out. So when that is like specially finalized, we'll release what that point system is. But it's gone through many different variations of what it looks like. Yeah.
Mhm. And you kind of touched on a little bit of like the future plan, right? Like expansion, growth. Um, I guess as far as you can share, what's maybe the roadmap and runway for the WFP from everything from a media structure, finance standpoint? Because I think the hope is, and the discussion around this is, I hope this isn't just like let's test this for 1 year and then we're done, right? Like people want to see the 2-year plan, 3-year plan, the roadmap as far as you can share to instill a little bit of faith behind the project.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll just start by saying is like we have some amazing investors behind us, just people that really want to see the sport grow and see the sport just flourish and really just grow what fitness means, And
Mhm.
and they've been extremely we just been extremely blessed to be connected with them, honestly. And so they have we have funding for the foreseeable future, and they want to see the sport grow and take off and not just be a 1-year thing, but
Mm.
grow till forever. You know what I'm saying? Like, be a forever sport, a forever tour sport. And so we also, alongside them, we have other investors that are sitting beside us, ready to come along when we're ready to grow and when we're ready to expand. And we want media to be a big part of this, creating storylines behind our athletes. And that's kind of what we envisioned in the tour sports. There's a lot of storylines that you can create through the tour. You can highlight your athletes. You can tell their stories, tell their comeback stories, highlight them throughout the season. Those are just things that we really see that are important and we want to prioritize within our league. Well, you can chime in here too, just as an athlete, what you're experiencing.
Yeah, I mean, just speaking to the points and the excitement from the top of the leaderboard down to the cut line of 20 to the challengers. We haven't spoke about what the fields are made up of, but we're signing 20 men and 20 women that will be at all the events, the 2 tour events and the final. And then we'll have an online qualifier that will qualify an additional 10 athletes into the pro division. And beyond that, the next 11 to 30 will qualify for the challenger division. What that does is, like, if I qualify, if I'm a challenger, I'm not signed, and I win the online qualifier, and I finish 5th place at tour event 1, and I get X amount of points. And then I have to do the online qualifier for tour event 2. I finish 15th. I'm not in the pro division, but I'm in the challenger division at that tour event, and I win that, and I get X amount of points allocated to the challenger champion. All I need to do in order to get into the finals is finish in the top 10 of those challenger athlete pool to then be in the pro division for the finals. The finals is double points and double pay to create a bit more parity in the leaderboard. So for storytelling, if I come into the finals, I'm ranked 25th and I get a top 5 or something with double points, that could jump me into the top 20. And then I get a pro card for the 2026 season. So the storytelling is down the whole leaderboard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's great.
Which is excitement for, I mean, you look at semifinals and some people say like semis are more exciting than the games because of the cut line storyboard.
Yeah.
I mean, the podium's there, the middle of the packs probably gets the least amount of shine. And then the cut line is right there. So we kind of have that all the way through our roster. And it creates more variability, right? Like there will be turnover every year with who's getting a pro card. The points matter. Like every point matters. The online qualifier system is something that I would love to in expansion get rid of and maybe partner with smaller competitions to be our challenger events.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I like that.
That's a future goal, right? Year one, this is what we're doing. But to grow this into a real tour sport, you know, you have 5 tour events, and maybe you have challenger events that are feeders for that.
Exactly.
But
So then
like a true athlete.
Talking about the media, and there are so many great opportunities for storytelling. Have y'all started developing what that plan will look like? Anywhere from a live stream. I even look at following athletes throughout the season, something similar to a Miles to Madison feel like we used to have. What does that look like at this point?
Yeah, totally. Go ahead. I can chime in whenever.
Cool. Yeah. Chime in whenever. I was just gonna say, yeah, we have a very well developed media plan for our athletes, whether it's day in the life videos, comeback stories, just highlight features, creating just content for them and creating just helping them just tell their story of who they are as a person. And maybe just not so much as like a fitness athlete, but just who they are as a person. You know what I'm saying? And so getting able to develop those, but also, I mean, live stream is that's what I've been communicating with a lot of people about, is because for the sport to grow, someone has to be able to turn on YouTube, we'll just say, and watch the live stream and understand what's happening without knowing anything about the sport. And so being able to find ways to communicate that and draw people's interest that have no interest in fitness at all really is I think one of the hardest challenges there is in the fitness sport, is just because it's such a niche market. And so finding ways to create more interest in that, finding ways to communicate that over a live stream with people doing crazy movements that people, if they're not familiar with, they may not understand. And so that's going to be a really big point of emphasis on what we do.
Yeah. It's the crowded bar conundrum. Any sport, you want to be able to flick on the TV in a crowded bar, and despite not being able to hear everything, hear all the commentary, get a generalized idea of what's going on as it unfolds while, you know, you have whatever libations you're enjoying with your friends. So that's kind of what the traditional sports broadcast kind of mantra is, as far as like getting the point across based on sports. So yeah. Kind of, I just lost my space.
Will, did you
Oh,
want to jump in though?
Yeah, you got
Yeah.
anything to say?
Oh yeah, I mean, we gotta the tour week stuff is what I'm excited about, right? Because
Yeah.
I lived in that space for so long, comp week, and creating cool features around the athletes on comp week. I don't know, like UFC embedded type stuff. If you guys are
100%.
familiar, like that stuff's
Love
really
that stuff.
cool, and it hypes up the main event, right? And we'll
Yeah.
be in these different locations, integrated into those communities. So it'll help with like people showing up that maybe weren't otherwise interested. But that type of content has always seemed really cool to me. It's cool to brands, it's cool to the fans, the athletes enjoy it. And I think the uniqueness of a tour will be there will be familiar faces like
Yeah.
athletes like Pat, Brooke, just announced Yele. Like these guys will compete multiple times throughout the year. So they're familiar faces. They'll get to know each other a little more. And I think the fans want to see what those relationships are like. So a lot of tour week features will be fun. I'm looking forward to the banter around those for sure, especially because like I know a lot of these guys and girls. So it's been fun for me to talk with all of them and almost be the conduit from the sport team now to the athletes. That seems unique, right? Like I've lived their lives. I've seen things that I thought were cool. I've seen things that I thought weren't cool. So it's been fun for me to just chat with them, see what they would love to see in a tour sport in the space. So I'm in a unique position still to like know a lot of the people on the roster, and then being helped shape what the sport can look like.
I will say, I think that's a natural fit for you. Even
Yeah.
when I was suffering through the echo bike that you were punishing me with in Hawaii, I was kind of struck by the ideas and things that you were throwing out there that was like, oh, that's a really, really cool. I like that thought. Even training and approaches. I think we were talking about your endurance capacity at the time as well. But I will say this: it feels like you're blending maybe a little bit of your two lives, right?
Right.
You're an athlete, grew up playing soccer, then CrossFit, and then you went into the corporate world for a little bit. And we've told your story before about, the misdiagnosis and thinking your career was done and dabbling in the corporate world. Maybe you had to put on a suit and tie, or maybe just business casual. And then you come back to the sport. And it seems like, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you're blending the two and you
Yeah,
have,
certainly.
yeah.
Yeah,
And you're,
certainly. It's been fun for me. And it's been challenging and it's a big undertaking, but it's been a great transition for me straight from like competitive athlete into this now. I'm still so involved. I mean, the people I'll be working with on the day on comp day are the people I was working with or working against for the past decade. So
Mhm.
it's been fun. It's easy to communicate with them because I know them on a personal level.
You're still very fit, by the way. I mean,
Yeah,
you just won the
Very
games.
fit.
You
yeah.
just won a stacked 35-39 division. You smoked it. So let's give you
It's
some credit.
waning. I'm putting all that fitness into these talks and these Excel sheets and stuff, but it's good. Multifaceted, I guess.
For sure.
Did you mention then, would these be standalone events, or are you going to have them coincide with, you mentioned Jason Ansley, Monster Games, and some of the other things he runs?
Right. Yeah. Standalone events, WFP events only, which is cool. I think just from our standpoint, creating consistency from a rule, from a feel, from a flow standpoint, it was really important to own the whole operation, at least year one. And then it creates some continuity within each event if they're going to all be attached. And then I don't think that we're against potentially partnering with other events to expand the season in 2026, 2027. I think that could make a lot of sense. But right now, WFP, Tour 1, Tour 2, and then the World Fitness Finals are
Cool.
all under our banner.
You mentioned, obviously competitive adjustments potentially in the future just now, but are there any other aspects, whether it's storytelling, athletes, specific brands that you hope to include in year two and beyond? Because I think the focus primarily goes towards, hey, maybe we're going to expand competition, we're going to expand this. Is there any other maybe details or stuff you're like, in a perfect world, it would be really cool if I had this?
Yeah, I don't know anything we can disclose yet, but there's definitely some cool things in the works to maybe expand what these events look like.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll just leave that there.
That's the old wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I got you.
Knowing that, I think at the beginning you might have mentioned that athletes will be able to potentially do both
Correct.
the World Fitness Project and the CrossFit Games season. When we're looking at the two, how do you see them coexisting? Or maybe some of the rumblings on the internet is saying that they're competitors. What is your viewpoint on that, and how you see the future for both?
Right. Yeah. We came into this with like a non-exclusive mindset. I think the way we scheduled it shouldn't interfere at all. I mean, we didn't want to interfere with the games, Rogue, like the big events, Tier, Wadapalooza, just because we're trying to help the athletes and the community. And if you're, interfering with some of the big spaces, you're actually limiting them from an athlete standpoint, like an earning opportunity. You wouldn't want to take that away. So I foresee it being fine. We even kind of limited the number of events in our qualifiers from a workout standpoint to not just be a total beatdown because of the frequency of training. Our tour events are 6 events. The finals is 9 events. So they can kind of understand what our demand will be within our league from a training and volume tolerance standpoint, which being an athlete for my whole life is something to really consider. Like if I had to do the games or the WFP finals or Rogue 6 times in a year, it'd be pretty tough. 9 to 12 events or 15 events sometimes at the game. So trying to create longevity for the athletes was an important goal of mine, which I think like our structure can create that as well, just from guaranteeing pro cards, multiple opportunities to compete. If you add events to the tour, say we have 5 tour events and we just say, we'll take your top 3 scores to get you to the finals. Athletes can kind of pick where they want to compete. They can control their peaks and tapers and all that stuff. Their off seasons a little bit more, which is longevity in the space, which is important because it's a demanding sport on you, mentally, but totally physically. Like, I mean, one of my orthopedic surgeons on speed dial for a reason.
That's
So,
fair.
yeah. So just making sure that we communicate with the athletes and there's an expectation about what they're going to be asked to do at our events and how much they're going to be asked to do that was important to me.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. And I guess with that being a key aspect in mind, right? Like athletes know what they're getting into when they sign up for this. What are maybe some other elements around the season, the WFP or your team, whatever it may be, that gives you confidence that you guys can ultimately succeed long term, whereas other leagues or events or maybe spin-offs within the fitness world haven't been able to succeed or maybe failed in the past?
Yeah. Good question. I don't know if Jay's got anything. I can talk from a sports side.
Yeah, you go. I'll chime in after you.
Yeah, I mean, I think just creating longevity for the athletes is success. You create buzz by qualifying people for an additional year immediately. Then you have belief of the athletes. You have their fans that have another year to be excited about it. The community divisions in all of these events will evolve to what they're composed of, which maybe Jay will speak about what the community divisions are composed of in a second here. But I think that is really the success, right? The athletes believe in the product, the brands will believe in the product, and then the community is involved in all of these as a whole, which is really the biggest part of this, is creating something that the community is excited to rally around, which it's new. It hasn't been done. It's just a separate spin off of what's been done, that actually just runs congruently, essentially. But yeah, I think for me, creating belief, having a positive athlete, fan experience, volunteer experience, partner experience is what will define whether this was successful or not for me in 2025.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll run into the divisions for the community divisions at our event. So we've defined them in our Instagram posts as the competitive division, and it's just full, and that just encompasses all of the competitive athletes that are there. So we have our pro athletes, we have our challenger athletes. Underneath that, we're going to include masters athletes. We're going to have what we're calling our next generation athletes, and it's the teenagers. And this one we're going to go for age divisions 14 to 16 and then 17 to 19. So expanding that teenager field a little bit to the 17 to 19-year-olds. Just from my experience with working with youth and teenagers in the fitness space, there's so many 18, 19-year-olds that are good at fitness, but they're not at the cusp of competing with the pros at the top of the sport. And so giving them another space to still compete is something that I really was passionate about. But also going into teams of 4, having elite, intermediate, and scale divisions. The masters and the teenagers are going to be duo divisions, so partner male and female divisions. I think I covered everything. The masters is going to be 35 to 49 division, then a 50+ division, so 2 divisions of those. And really our just passion behind getting all this community involved is just numbers. We want as many people to compete at this competition as we can. We want to feel the vibes and the energy of the whole community rallying around at one event and continuing that along the other events as well. And so these community members and their whatever respective category they sign up for, they can qualify for the finals too. So if they get a podium finish at each event, then they're going to compete in the finals just with the world champions are. If they don't, then they still have an opportunity to qualify through an online qualifier called the trials. And then they can qualify there and go compete in the finals as well. So giving people ample opportunities to get to the finals and compete. And just like when I was 17, 18 years old, I would have died to say that I was competing with Will at the same event as Will. And at the same time.
Old?
Yes.
Yeah.
But very fit.
You know what I have? It's my gray beard.
Yeah,
I'm older than everyone here on this call, so yes.
But yeah, just being just having the energy of everyone at one space and competing at the same time is really just what we're excited that we can provide to everyone.
Yeah, and I think having the pros at the same events and a lot of the activations we'll do on tour week, we'll have our athletes at gyms or having activations at the venue that they're integrating with the community, whether it's coaching a class or doing a autograph signing or something like that. They're there. It's tangible, you can feel it, and you're competing within the same space. So that's a kind of cool thing. Kind of getting back to the grassroots of when I started, there was a lot of that, right? I owned an affiliate, I did the whole thing. And I would like to reinvigorate that a bit, where these athletes can reconnect with their fans, because ultimately that's what's making this sport legitimate is the fans. And I think the athletes get that. I spoke to all of them about that, which is cool. It should be a fun thing. It doesn't always have to be so stiff, and it can be kind of chill. Obviously, on game day, maybe we're not doing an activation, but leading up. Yeah, no, I mean, there's money on the line, and it's a pro sport, but I think leading up to it and outside of the tour events with a lot of the sweet community things we got set up, it should be a good experience for everyone.
So, Will, there's a master's division, 35+. Are you also going to compete?
No.
Okay, I had to ask.
I'm fully booked for the foreseeable future. I'm just trying to get on a regular workout routine again. I have tested a lot of the workouts, well, I'll just leave it there. Tested a lot of them, which is good. I mean, I'm not ready for an event right now, but I can probably do one good one a day right now.
Hey, that's all you need, man.
Yeah.
It's better than most.
I'm lucky if I get 2 to 3 workouts in a week right now. I got with the little one that we have, but I that does bring up a question, like as far as like programming and things like that are concerned. Competition director, kind of, is this going to be something where I'll start with this: the games, sometimes the track's being laid down as the train's coming. You know,
Yeah.
there's no surprise that that events are being tested, adjusted, finalized in person at the games. Where do you guys fall on that? Are you trying to get all of the programming, the tests, the elements of that secured before the season even starts, or where does that fall?
Right. Yeah. So I got a lot of the season mostly done already. I need to, it's not just the workouts, right? Like I need to talk to the event directors for the time domains that we need for all the heats. And it's a big production. It's easy to program a perfect thing if you don't have restrictions on like 75 heats and
Yeah,
like the time of the broadcasts, because
it's
these are all
important.
things that you're paying for.
Yeah.
So, which most people don't even think about. But so yeah, I have a lot, like the online stuff's done, which is fun. That's easier. The in person is an active conversation with the event directors. I'll be doing the programming with uh, some of the other stakeholders will be involved, like Jackson will be involved, but we're keeping that pretty tight to the chest. I just leaked workouts and stuff is something that I want to avoid at all costs, because it just, for a professional tour and stuff, you wouldn't want to create any biases. You need to keep it as fair as possible. So the less people that know, the better. Obviously, the people that need to know will know, and then we'll release them with plenty of time for the athletes, their coaches to help with tapers, and then the judges and the production team and all that to understand what they're doing, just so the product's clean. But
Mhm,
those are all considerations from the programming standpoint.
mhm.
Do you have locations secured? And
We'll,
what
we'll
breadcrumbs can you give
right,
us?
we'll be announcing. Well, yeah, stay tuned. We got some cool ones.
Is there a timeline for announcements? Like, can we expect something every couple of days, every week? I mean, right now we don't even know when the CrossFit rulebook's coming. Has it come yet? It could have dropped 10 minutes ago.
Right,
I don't know. I'm just. Is there any sort of like predictable schedule we can at least start to anticipate?
right. Can I say like our goal for all that, or should I just?
Yeah, I mean, well, we're running through our athlete announcements right now. That's our
Mhm.
focus, is we want to announce and highlight all of our athletes that are signing, and then continue to develop and lay out our season structure to and put it through our social media channels where people can understand it, people can see, and more details surrounding people signing up for online events, who a challenger is, who can sign up, when those
Mhm.
events are, and this is going to be a rollout process from now until January, like all throughout January. We're going to be rolling all this stuff out. So
Cool.
event locations, event dates, all that stuff will be put in there throughout that timeline there.
Y'all gonna get me
Great.
in trouble.
I mean, we got to poke and prod a little bit, right? Like, I mean, people want to know,
I'm
but
with
Gotta
you.
ask
I'm
the
with you.
hard-hitting
Yeah.
questions, Will.
I'm
we
with
appreciate
you.
we appreciate it. But as far as feedback is concerned, right? You obviously you're talking with athletes, you're talking with brand partners, agents, event organizers, everything like that. What's been the general feedback, and has there been any corrective feedback that you've gotten that's been particularly helpful?
Just excitement.
Yeah.
People are excited for an additional opportunity to do what they love. I think the brands are excited to see what happens.
Mhm.
I think the athletes just want to compete. They love to compete. That's been what everybody has told me. They're excited for the opportunity to do it against the best multiple times a year, uh, which is something I wish I would have been able to do. So that's exciting. The teams, their teams around them are super excited and super supportive of us. We have a lot of people that are wanting to help any way they can, which is always nice. So, I mean, I'm sure you could ask around. I've had about 1 million calls and just open to all suggestions, and making sure that obviously they know what our goal and our vision for this is, and if they can help facilitate anything that we need, they've they've been open to that, which has been really cool for me. I mean, the community's really dope, which I've been around it for a long time. So to see it from this side of the fence, trying to build something really, really big has been really cool.
I will say, I do remember 2019 though. You got some competition under your belt that year.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I saw you at like 8 sanctionals that
Right,
season.
right.
So you know as well as many how to navigate a full calendar season.
Yeah, true. And I think that that's an element that we can grow, obviously, as like the WFP expands and it becomes, more global with more locations and things like that. There's an element that these athletes will learn about international travel, about peaking, about do they like an Airbnb versus a hotel, like all these things. And it will really refine them as pros, which I think is a cool skill to have. The sanctional season kind of helped me do that because I did compete a lot. I mean, I think I was in Iceland, and then like 2 weeks later, I was in Brazil, which is a big shift in a lot of different ways. But it makes you better at game day, and it matures you at a faster rate. Which, for being a world class athlete, that's an important thing for these guys and girls to learn. Where it just hasn't existed yet. I guess it existed a little bit in the sanctional season, and the guys and girls that competed in that, to the amount that I did, probably learned the same thing as I did. But a lot of other sports have that. So yeah, it's exciting, man. I just like the idea of it, and I'm stoked that we're like doing it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Feel free to answer as much or as little of this as possible. But when it comes to picking those 20 men and 20 women, did you initially cast a wide net, start communicating with athletes on the side that you thought might be interested? Or what was that communication to now when we see the athletes drop and who's actually signing on?
Yeah, that's a fun process because I know a lot of them. But we used Rogue in the games from the past few years and made a leaderboard of that for the top 16, I believe it was. And then we invited 4 athletes that we thought would be great part of the WFP season for the inaugural season. And then for 2026, it's all like the pro cards are completely based off of the season or how you do, where your finish is, which is the way it should be. So year one, yeah, sure, we invited a couple people that we thought whether they got hurt or weren't able to compete this past year, but we believed in, we did that, and then or showed promise. But the rest was games, road finishes, which is typically the best of the best. So yeah, that's how that went down.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's been fun to like talk with all the athletes and see where they were, and we're still working down that list. But yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and I don't know, Lauren, if you have anything left, but as far as I'm concerned, is there anything that we're missing about the season, about the structure, about the organization that you guys are like, I'm excited to kind of just show to the world, explain that maybe hasn't come out yet, but that you're free to talk about?
You got anything?
I don't know. I feel like we covered a lot here. We spoke about everything that we can talk about. I think. I mean, unless Will, you have any?
When's the merch drop?
Yeah.
Oh, the merch is coming soon. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, merch is coming soon.
I will say
pretty
this.
cool. Pop it up there.
It is. I actually
I
dig
like
it.
it a lot.
I'm a sucker for a blended logo, like it's almost like baseball style. But I will say this: have there been any misconceptions or things that you've seen out in the ether as far as like discussion around the WFP that you feel is either misguided or misrepresented? Like you see this discourse. I know you mentioned like the whole competitor aspect with the CrossFit Games. Is there anything else maybe that you're like, that's not quite right?
No, I mean, I think that's been the biggest thing, and I think that's just a scheduling, like that's solved with explaining the scheduling. It's just a different spin on it. A tour event, like the CrossFit Game season is not a tour season, so you can't really compare them. I mean, I guess like all the athletes are the same more or less, but the structure of the season is much different. Ours is based off of an average of the most points accumulated throughout the season is the champion. The CrossFit Games champion is the champion of that weekend, right? So obviously, like, I'm sure there's some guys that could do, like, whoever gets X in the open or the semis and the games will ultimately be the champion, but it's just a different structure. So I don't think that they're necessarily competitors. We're just like giving the same athletes more opportunities um to compete at a really high level, which they're all stoked about. That's what you want to do. You want to show off why you bust your ass every day in front of the
Mhm.
world. And that's what the fans love too. I mean, they love the storylines, they love watching the best athletes, and I mean, that's why I love the sport, right? I love competing, and now I love watching the athletes go. So
Mhm.
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, Lauren, unless you got something else.
No, that was great. I just know we've been trying to get y'all on since
Yeah.
we first heard something. So I'm happy that we could do this right ahead of the holidays and Christmas. It was a little early gift.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Merry
Um,
Christmas.
yeah, for sure. I'm Jackson. Well, again, to reiterate what Lauren said, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I know you guys are probably on opposite ends of the country, pretty much, as far as Hawaii and Will, you're on Central Time. I know. Are you in
Yeah,
Nashville still? Yeah.
yeah,
So, um, thanks for making the time for us as we
totally.
are barreling down on Christmas 2 days from now. Um, anyone who's listening, go check out World Fitness Project website, Instagram, two primarily places they can find you
Yeah, our Instagram, our website will be dropping here in the next coming weeks, our full website, but Instagram's the best place.
to stay up to date. Cool. Well, again, thank you guys so much for the time. Best of luck going forward.